and my teammates are like spinning in circles,
Right.
like doing this, and like I instantly know this dude is
At
no,
all.
he's
Not
not
gonna
gonna
help you
help.
at all.
What's going on? My name's AP,
What's up? I'm 84.
and we're just two IT guys that love Call of Duty. And the topic of discussion today is SBMM. All right, 84, there's been an interesting conversation going around the Call of Duty community about skill-based matchmaking. In this recent article, they were talking to a former developer, Charlie Olson, about this. Can you explain, like, what is skill-based matchmaking before we get into this conversation?
Skill-based matchmaking, the way we understand it and the way it's been explained to us over the years, is the way players are matched up in a lobby is based on their skill set. Now, the game has different ways it determines skill set. From the surface, a player determines their skill based on KD, which is their kill-death ratio, or their amount of wins. Now, on the back end, there's always rumors that there's hidden skill ratings that players are not able to see, and those also factor into how the matchmaking is created.
At what point do you think, like far as Call of Duty is concerned, like what game do you think, like, where the skill-based matchmaking just made this complete change? Like, where at? Like, which on game?
I mean, that's hard to determine because this comes down to who you ask and their particular skill level, right? If you ask a higher skilled player, they might have not noticed it until more recent games, you know, within the last, say, 5-6 years. If you ask a lower skilled player, they might tell you it's been around much longer because they're having a different experience.
Okay.
So I don't know that I would pinpoint a specific game based on that.
Well, like let me change the question then. Like for like you personally, where do you feel like, okay, what was your height of like your gaming far as multiplayer? And then where did you feel like it, like skill-based matchmaking, like kicked in for you then?
The only time I felt, and I know a lot of people might share the same opinion, but when I officially felt like something changed in the game, it would have to be Modern Warfare 2019.
2019. Okay. For like me personally, so like my height was IW, Infinite Warfare. Now, I felt like the lobbies were more organic in those times, but I'm gonna totally agree with you on this. It was 2019 where I felt like maybe even like a smidget of like BO4. There was some like weird lobbies when I was camo grinding, but really 2019 was, for like me too, was like where I was like, okay, these lobbies really kind of feel like scripted, like made up, you know?
So I would add to that. I would agree with the BO4 partially, only because that was around the time of Blackout, and Blackout was not crossplay, and I feel like that's where we started to notice a new tier of players, the PC players, the players who were willing to invest more in their gaming setup, also tended to be the better skilled players. So you would see a more higher skilled variety of lobbies in there where you would think like, oh, the matchmaking feels a little different here now.
I wanted to like, so I've been thinking about this, and I wanted to, there's a certain changes that have happened from the time that I've started, which was Black Ops 2 to Black Ops 6. And I'm having this theory of every single thing that they do right now is tied into SBMM. So when I very first started playing BO2, the incentives were a lot higher. Far as me, maybe it's getting a little like watered down now, but on BO2, the Master Prestige felt more prestigious than it did in BO2 than BO6. I don't really think it like matters anymore. Like far as Black Ops 6, hitting that Master Prestige doesn't feel the same. You know what I mean? And the only incentive that I kind of feel like is even worth playing multiplayer anymore is the camo grind, right? I don't know how it is for like you, but I mean, on IW, man, I was doing calling cards, man. I was getting the highest prestige of 1,000. I was doing the camo grind. Like everything seemed more like warding before 2019. And there was a certain portion of this article that kind of like threw me off, and where basically it like said like the algorithm will correct itself when you use different weapons that aren't like meta weapons. Like if you use like a weapon that's harder to like use, then you'll get like after hey wow, it'll put you in like these like lower tier lobbies. And then that got me to thinking, right? Then that means that like the weapons that like they use, they're purposely put there to lower your KD.
Yeah, I noticed that in 2019, I guess it was the most prevalent. It may have happened before, but because, like you said, because you were so busy focusing on the calling cards and hitting prestige that maybe we didn't notice it. And then in 2019, because that game lacked a lot of the rewards and we were just focused on the guns and the gameplay, I think I noticed it the fastest, which is if I would pick a shotgun over, let's say an M4, which is a classic weapon in Call of Duty, suddenly 3-4 games later, everyone's running a shotgun in the lobby, right? And that's where I started to really notice, like, how is everyone always running the same weapons I'm running? If I use the sniper rifle, suddenly everyone's sniping. If I went back to an AR, suddenly everyone's back to an AR.
Yep.
And in 2019, it almost became so obvious that you started to even theorize, like, is the game almost watching me, let's say? Is the game putting me in specific lobbies to match what I'm doing? And that's
exactly.
And that's where the talks of SBMM kind of started to ramp up, where people started to feel like lobbies feel manipulated. The organicness is just not there anymore. I didn't feel like it wasn't there, at least.
Exactly. That's like, so like, here's like this. Now that pretty much the only incentive is the camo grind, like that's why people play multiplayer. And this is another thing that I would love to see, like, because at the height of the camo grind, which is within what, the first month or so,
I would say.
What is the drop off players after they complete the camo grind? That's one thing that I would like to see, like where like does like the player count start when it first drops, can like compare to when people start hitting this camo grind and finishing the camo grind, where does the player count end? You know what I mean?
So that's an interesting question, because I think there's two avenues that player count drop off takes, right? So there's, and the reason why I say there's two avenues, it's because now we have to factor things like Resurgence or Warzone, because there's pre-Warzone, pre-Resurgence Call of Duty, and then there's post-Warzone, pre-Resurgence, and that's very important lately, because a lot of players will camo grind hard that first month or two, like you said,
right? And
the drop off is because those players are strictly going over to Warzone. Like, they're not just getting off the game, they're just getting off this mode of multiplayer, and now they're over here. So that's gonna cause a multiplayer drop off.
Yes.
So the question is, how many like only multiplayer players remain versus how many are just in it for the camo and they're gone?
Yeah, that is also going to be a big deciding factor within this data, because it's like, and then this is the first year that Warzone has had its own camo grind, and I personally think that this camo grind is nowhere near multiplayer. It doesn't have the same like what's the word? It doesn't have the same like umph as multiplayer, because like people aren't really going for it. Like people, like I see like your like content creators, they have it. I'm trying to get it, but it's like everybody wants meta weapons because maybe it's because KD and stuff matters more in Warzone than it does multiplayer anymore. Because I feel like the value of being good in multiplayer is just lost. Is like it's feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like the only incentive to me to play is to have fun, of course, but the only achievement that they have now is camos.
But I think part of why multiplayer feels that way to players like us, we're not there's no fun, so we're just in it for this singular reward of a camo and we're gone, right? It's not about the prestige, it's not about the calling cards. I think it kind of all roads lead back to SBMM, right? Because you end up in these lobbies that just feel very manipulated, and so you're not having fun. It's so you feel like sometimes you feel like you're just a pawn in this lobby, like you're the punching bag this round. You're not gonna have any fun no matter what you try, no matter how hard you play. And not that that's a bad thing, because you want randomness, but it gets to the point where you have one really good game, you have to go through 20 bad games before that randomness kicks back in. And that is why it doesn't feel fun, because 20 games, and I'm being hypothetical, but if I have to go 10, 15, 20 games of being the punching bag, I'm not having any fun personally.
Right. So like, what do you say to those people that are like lesser skilled players and then they say, oh, the only reason why higher skilled players want easier lobbies is so they could like pub smash?
I have to honestly say they're not totally wrong, because I think even the higher skilled players, they want to be able to say, look how many kills I dropped, or I dropped a nuke, or I got 50 kills. I dropped 40 in a row without dying. So part of their incentive is getting more kills is fun, but they also don't want to be the punching bag ever. Right? So that's why the lower skilled players feel like, why do we have to always be the punching bag?
That's a very, very good point. And I want to add a little bit something to that for like my own personal experience. I don't, because at the height of my Call of Duty, like I was like the highest KD I've ever had was a 3.5, I think it was. The thing about it is like I didn't want easier lobbies so that I could go like crazy. I just don't want to load into a game, right? And then I'm like, okay, my KD is this. I understand that. And then like at the start of the like game, I like look over and my teammates are like spinning in circles, like doing this, and like I instantly know off rip, I instantly know this dude is with it.
He's not gonna help at all.
No, he's not gonna help
at all.
And then I know that the team that I'm gonna be playing, you can like tell me how many times you like loaded into shipment or something, right? And then you look over and like there's one dude over there doing this, or looking his gun, spinning in circles,
looking up at the air.
And come on now, you know that this game is probably not going to go. You're probably going to back out of it before that halfway light point, because the other team is more serious, right? Or ready to like play. I don't want easier lobbies. I personally just want like a more even team aspect. And even with that being said, having a more even team, and then like I don't want to feel like, okay, so like if I'm camo grinding, I don't really want to feel like the stuff that I need is what the opposite team is preventing me from like doing. So it's like you'll sit there and play, oh, I need long shots. You won't see a smoke for like the whole time, but now you need this one thing on your list, and now smokes are being popped everywhere. Or, oh, I got to get knife kills. Now everybody has knives out. You know what I mean?
Right, and that goes back to what I said earlier, where like if suddenly I need to get a point blank shotgun kills, suddenly I'm in a lobby where everyone's sniping from the back, so no one's moving up to me. It's like, okay, a round ago I was the one sniping and everyone was rushing me. Now I need shotguns. No one's getting near me.
Exactly.
What happened?
What happened to me? Where did all the people go? And
like, no one wants to push me now? What's happening?
Here's one thing that I've noticed in like this this might not even be your experience, but like when I'm in a higher skill lobby per se, like I don't ever feel like I'm being outgunned. When I'm in a higher skill lobby, I know that the lethals and the stun spams are gonna be at a higher than if I'm just in like a chill
Agreed.
lobby.
Agreed.
I never feel like, oh my goodness, this lobby is just like unbearable because man, this dude keeps like eliminating me because I can't kill him. Like I've never really felt like, maybe like here and there, but it's not like, oh, I'm getting outgunned. Man, it's always like just spamming of lethals and stuns to me personally. Now, your experience, it might be way different than mine.
No, I've shared the same experience, and like I said, I feel like it happens more often. I want to factor that SBMM is causing that, and but then that also plays into SBMM is not as random as they want us to believe it is. But then this is where elements of the game need to be tweaked based on SBMM and player skill. So if we're gonna have higher skilled players being matched up together, well, this is where now we have to alter the gameplay elements. Just like you said, you're playing better players, you spawn in, everyone's throwing stuns, smokes, gas, whatever. Well, the game should say, okay, well, how do we fix this? How do we balance this? Well, there should be a cooldown. So we're not just spamming lethals in this high tier lobby.
Exactly.
And no one's actually shooting. It's just stuns and grenades and whatever. So
right.
The game now needs to be altered to match the skill base.
Okay, so let's get into that topic then of like a overall solution. SBMM, we always know, has been in the game. Like it's nothing that's gonna go anywhere, right? We've kind of experienced a good SBMM because if like how they say SBMM has always been in the game. What game did you feel like, okay, this is a good natural SBMM for Call of Duty, and then this is a bad one?
I view it more of a cutoff, honestly, but I think it's because once I started to become a better player, there's like a sharp turn SBMM makes once you hit a certain skill set. It's like very gradual when you're a low skilled player, and then it just spikes once you hit a threshold. And that's why I keep going to 2019 because I view 2019 as like a game of two halves. The first, I don't want to say half, the first quarter of that game, I was on the lower end. And after about the first quarter of that game, and I saw my KD improving and my shots were getting better, that's when everything felt like, okay, I'm in these high tier skilled lobbies where no one misses, everyone has perfect centering and awareness, and I have to be on my game now. Where before, I would get on the game very organic, didn't even matter what weapon I used, didn't matter if I never even used my tacticals. It was like, it just felt organic. I could get kills, people would kill me, didn't really matter.
Right. So which Call of Duty title felt the most organic to you then?
I would probably say like BO2, BO3 felt organic, where I don't ever remember having a thought of, man, I can't play today.
Yeah.
Like I never had that feeling playing those titles.
Yeah, I would agree. Like Black Ops 3, even though Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare was probably the best SBMM that I played. I don't know what in that realm of the game would happen to it, where they felt like, okay, this isn't working for us bottom dollar wise or something like I don't know, because it's all because for companies, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, right?
Make sense.
So at what point did they say, okay, this SBMM is not working for us like we wanted to, let's turn up the dial and do this? That's another question that I would like to ask. Like what happened? Because it felt like, I don't know if like lesser skilled players were just dropping off of Black Ops 3 or Infinite Warfare. It's like, what happened to make this 2019 change?
I think another factor that I don't hear discussed enough is just player count, and not as in players that dropped off. I think as the player count increased over that time period leading into 2019.
Mhm.
So BO3, BO4, Blackout, 2019, you remember what happened globally. I think the spike in player count and then the increased need for monetization with the stores and the bundles,
Yeah.
I think they did an overcorrection of SBMM to create these lobbies. I've always felt like the SBMM we hate was due to an overcorrection.
Okay. I like that point. That's a good solid point. I like that.
Because one of the arguments that I hear a lot is, how come matchmaking takes so long now for certain people, depending on your region, your area, your skill set? And they're like, oh, back in the day, I would just get on the game and instantly get on. But then I think too, I'm like, we also have to factor player count. There's a lot more Call of Duty players today than there were 5 years ago, than there were 10 years ago.
And see, here's the problem that I have though. It's just like certain things that they have done, and then the changes that they made over this time is a bit disingenuous, because if you played modern Black Ops 2, hop on. This many people are online right here. Boom. Right? Where like moving how many people are like online. Where like moving the ability to see KDs and win losses of people in your lobbies makes SBMM seem disingenuated and more manipulated. Because if a person doesn't know a certain thing, then like you lead them to believe the worst possible scenario or the worst possible situation. But I don't understand the removal of all of these things. Like, what was the reason behind it? And when I'm looking online at articles, it's showing that there's a lot of feelings involved. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we don't want players to feel like this. We don't want them to feel like that. If you make a good game and you set the incentive for a player to get better, like you said, gradual SBMM, then they would be more likely to play more, I feel like. But if like a player can go through what I like to say Ohio or mid like West weather in one day, or like one gaming session, right? So like there was like one like day that I was going to like work. I looked outside. It was sunny when I had woke up, right? Get like dressed for work, walk outside. It's raining, right? I drive to work, which is 5 minutes from my house. I'm working. I look out the window and it's snowing. You know what I mean? And then like I go to like lunch and it starts hailing. And this is true. I'm not making this is Ohio weather. This is how we live in mid like West. You know what I mean? Like we can go through 3, 4, 5 different weather changes throughout the day. And this is how I feel like the SBMM is treating us. Like we can go through so many heights, highs and lows just in one gaming session to like a person that's not like, I guess, a avid Call of Duty player. They might be like, you know what? I can't even play this. I don't see them changing it as much, but like the SBMM is probably, it's a big issue. Also, I don't think it's the biggest deciding issue with players leaving, but it adds to that. Like, okay, yeah, I'm not feeling big, because I feel like if certain other things that we will discuss in a later topic were working correctly, that SBMM wouldn't hurt so bad, or wouldn't make us feel like we need to get rid of it, because SBMM is only a bad thing because it's not done properly, right? Because because like when we've talked about, SBMM has always been in the game. It's getting worse and worse. Well, it's getting more negative talk because it's not being done properly.
And I'll add to what you said, where you said like, I said that I feel like it's an overcorrection, and you mentioned about player feelings, you know, making sure, you know, you don't want players to feel bad if they're losing or they're not winning enough. And so I feel like SBMM got over dialed up because, well, we need to protect these players who aren't as good. But that in itself, that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because your skill-based matchmaking system is supposed to help those players get better, but you overcorrect it so much that you've trapped them so low that they will never get better.
True. Or it feels like there's no point of getting better.
To get better. Exactly.
Right.
It feels like if I battle this Goliath of SBMM, if I'm stubborn enough and I say, well, you know what, I'm gonna get better by force, I'm just gonna get punished when I get better. So why would I?
Right, exactly. Like me, I'm just like, let me just get this camos done. A sad thing to like see where Call of Duty has come, because I remember getting on BO2, 3, Infinite Warfare, and man, I would lose track of time playing Call of Duty. And I would be playing Call of Duty. I come home from work and I'm like, oh, I forgot to eat. It's 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Now I'm like, God, I start at like 7:30. I'm like, what time is it? God, right. 7:45. Man, it feels like I've been playing this game forever.
Yeah, and it's created such a psychological flip, because you mentioned earlier the reward system and why you wanted to play so much. I want a prestige. I want to get this calling card. And now, if you see someone that's high prestige, if you see someone with like a new calling card, it just leaves a bitter taste, like, oh man, this guy never gets off the game. You know, this guy's a sweat.
Touch some grass.
Touch some grass. You know, the thing that used to be a literal prestige to say like, oh man, I got a prestige master in my lobby. That's crazy. Right. Now it's like, oh man, I got a prestige master in my lobby. Now it's frowned upon.
It sure is, man. And it's like, after the camo grind, like you always wanted to show off your camo multiplayer. Now, it's over with. I'm heading to Warzone, and they'll see it.
Or even in multiplayer, if somebody gets it now, it's like, he got the mastery camo already? Yeah, like, why are you still here?
Why are you still playing? Like, you got the camo. Like,
yeah, why are you still playing? Because it's just like,
what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's like we take away, we're our own SBMM made us our own worst enemies, because now we just said, you know, we started with what's causing the player drop off. Well, we're basically running each other off, telling people, why are you still here?
Exactly. Exactly.
But it's because of SBMM. It's because of the experience. It's not because we hate the game. We love the game. We hate the manipulation of the game.
That is the truest thing that I've heard anybody say about the SBMM. All right, thank you guys for listening. That's our time, and we appreciate the love. Send over to 84.
Appreciate your time, and I hope this was a worthy discussion. Let us know what you guys think about SBMM.